I feel like I should do a strip tease. That would send them scooting for the hills. Joan laughed. Oh, shit. Hello, everyone. This is Ishkia Page, and I'm with Alexi, pen name Alexi Linn, the author of Sally Wins the Lottery, but didn't buy a ticket. And it was an absolute wonderful book to narrate. And I have the privilege of actually interviewing her and having the honor of actually meeting her face to face. So she's just a wonderful person to work with. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. Sun's shining. It's not storming.
Oh, that's always a plus.
That's all
That's always
good.
a plus. So tell us a little about you. What got you inspired to write in the first place?
I just always have. I've always written. I told all the kiddies stories when I was young under the cherry tree.
So you started very young. That's awesome. When was your first book put out?
I think my first book, well, I don't know, about 20 years ago, I did an ancestor book, 527 direct descendants of, what was their names? John Dieter and Abraham Teeter.
That's awesome. That was a lot of work, I bet.
It was. A gentleman in the family did most of the work, and I just had to compile it mostly. So that was he did the retracing and corralling of paperwork. So that helped.
Oh, definitely. It had to have helped. Holy
it was
criminy.
huge. It was huge.
I can't even imagine doing that kind of project. I just can't even imagine doing that. So how many books have you put out?
Oh, roughly 40.
Wow, that's
I'm guessing.
awesome.
I don't know. I write, I don't count.
That's really awesome. When did you start doing audiobooks?
It's been a couple years since Amazon came out with Audible.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's been a while.
Well, that's when I started sending the audiobooks to people who are more talented than I am in storytelling.
Well, I will have to say, I really enjoyed doing your book. Some books are, they're okay to do, and I always learn a lot. I mean, I always learn. I just love narrating. But this one was so funny, in the characters were so rich.
And that's good. That's what I try for.
Yeah, every character that you put in there, I remember. And
Good.
that says a lot. That says a lot, because I write a lot, and I narrate, so it's easy to forget, a lot of times. So I told a friend of mine, I'm really going to be sad when this book is done. Because it was so fun to do. But it took me longer than it should, because I don't know, every time I turned around, I was having to stop because I was laughing.
Well, but that's good.
It's very good. I loved it.
My work was done.
Hence the blooper reels. If I'd have done every one that I came up with, you would have just been hours. I mean, it was literally just fun. It was really fun.
Excellent.
What inspired this story?
Well, I start with what if. And when somebody says, what if you win the lottery? What would you do? And I give it to Sally, and Sally corrals whoever she has to get through this story, and they write the story. I take notes.
Well, I think it's awesome. I just love Sally's character. Now, I know you've written Sally books before. I feel like I'm coming to the party late on on Sally, but I just love her.
She does, she's 87 years old and she is spunky. And that's
I
actually,
want to
she's my
grow up to
grandma.
be like her.
She's my grandma.
Does your real grandma inspire her?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's
Oh, 100%.
awesome.
And my
That's
great grandma and my
Well, you
mother.
know what? In that generation, they had to be spunky.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They were all of my mamas and grandmas and aunts. They all influenced and still do influence the spunky.
That's good. Hey, you always have content that way.
That's true, even though I'll stare at the screen sometimes and say, now, what are they getting into?
Oh man, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Do you find that when you write that it kind of writes itself?
The characters do it.
Yeah.
As long as the characters are there, they will write it.
Yeah.
If the character isn't 3D, nothing comes. They just don't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like that too. It's like people ask me when I do my work, what's going to happen next? I don't know.
No,
I mean, I
and
have a
I
dot
don't know who's
outline.
done it either until it gets to the end.
That is so cool. So in all of your books, what genre do you tend to write?
Cozy mysteries. I like the cozy mysteries.
That's awesome.
And
Well,
I do some nonfiction, but I like a good whodunit, and they have to be cozy because I don't get into the erotica and all that stuff. That's for somebody else to do.
yeah, it's a kind of a breed of its own in a way. I'm glad you do cozy mysteries because I want to tell you, you did a fantastic job. It was very easy to narrate.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's why it took so
it's
long, right?
written very well. It
Okay,
really is.
I do my best.
Yeah, most of the time when I narrate, I find a lot of errors. And so it's hard to navigate around because you don't know what the author wants, if they want it exact word for word, or do they want me to report back and tell them there's an error? It's a time consumer. But being an author and an editor myself, I catch stuff like that. And I will tell you, there was, I think, maybe one or two things I saw in that whole entire book that didn't even matter, that I would have thought I didn't even have to ask you because I knew what you said. So
Okay,
it was like,
but
that's
now I'm scared. I got to go back and look at that
no,
manuscript.
no, 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 don't want you. It's never perfect. The Hobbit has gone through 765 edits and they're still finding mistakes.
Oh,
So don't. So sometimes you just gotta let it go. And my books will have errors in it, so, and I figured, well, if I didn't narrate it right, you would tell me,
uh,
because you were really easy to work with.
well,
Eh,
because it's fiction, I don't have to be adamant about, okay, that's Choya, pronounced Choya. It's not Chola, but it's fiction. So I don't have to be precise.
Right, right.
So it's okay. I live with it.
Well, you were certainly a pleasure to work with, and I don't, and it's kind of funny because typically I don't audition for royalty type of books, but there was something that pulled me in to that book that made me audition.
I like the royalty split. The reason being, if the quality of the finished product is going to be highest, narrators are going to do their best job to make it sell. So they work harder, and that's good because I work hard to give it to them.
Well, I wish all the authors took your stance on that. You'd be surprised. You would be surprised.
and I also like to give newcomers opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's generally the splits are newcomers just getting started, and I like to give them opportunity to play and create and to grow if they're talent.
And you know what? I appreciate that stance too, because you know, in the whole sea of the flooding of the market now, it just since 3 years ago, I think it was, it's gone, the audiobook industry has gone up by 117%.
It wouldn't surprise me. Amazon opening up has made a gigantic difference
Yeah.
in
a-
opportunities.
Yeah. That and Find Away Voices, because they go
Yes.
worldwide and through Spotify now. So, you know, I really appreciate your stance on that, because it's so hard for somebody to get started that isn't well known,
Oh,
because,
yes.
you know, it especially women, the
And of course, mine
opportunity.
is a woman's world. It's hard
Yeah.
for a man to get into my books. They wind up on the floor. They
Well, it
either
was fun. It was unusual and it was fun and unique and quirky. I loved every piece of it.
excellent.
I shared snippets with my sister, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I love this book. What I now I want to buy it. Now I've got to listen
And
to it. Now
go for it.
So, you know, it's been fun. It's just been really fun. Did you have any questions for me?
Well, how long have you been narrating?
I'm newer narrator. I started underneath the mentorship of my narrator from the UK, from England, Graham Mack. So he's been doing mine for 2 years. And then I started narrating and practicing, about a year and a half ago. And then a year ago, I started narrating for real, you know.
Okay.
So, and then I did a dual narration with a couple of books with Graham Mack for my book series, one of my book series. So that was really fun. That taught me a lot about the duo thing. It's quite it's fun, but it's more complicated, you know, having to produce two voices and stuff like that. But it was really great experience and learning experience. So that's why I really appreciate you giving newer narrators opportunities, because it is really hard. When I first started just a little over a year ago, I would put in an audition and the authors would say, "Oh, you know, I had 4 or 5 auditions to choose from." And now they're saying, "Wow, I've had over 200 auditions." So that's just in a little over a year, the
Yeah.
difference.
It's one of my books I put up, and I thought everybody was busy working or doing what they're doing. And the next day I had 55 auditions. And that was what? Really? I'm supposed to keep track of where I am with all
Wow,
the
and I actually made the cut.
auditions.
Holy crap, did somebody not work out?
No, I'm looking for the different voices. I'm not looking for somebody just to read it. I'm
And I
looking
like
for
how you're
somebody who will give it dimension and bring people to their own character.
I
Whether it
see
agrees
what you
with the
mean.
picture in my head or not, it doesn't
Right.
matter.
You know, it's sometimes a narrator's interpretation is a shock. I know as an author myself, a lot of the times characters that were read by my narrator were like, "Oh, well, but I like that better." You know,
Well,
it brings it
yes.
to life and they interpret it how it's written. So, you know, you just let it go, but
Well, I don't want to change it. I want to know how the outside world is interpreting what I'm writing. So it's good.
Yeah.
And I love people to be able to exercise their creativity.
Well, I like how you did the audition script too. You know, a lot of
Okay.
people will submit an introduction and then they take, this is horrible, but then they take the introduction narrated and audition for, download it and use it for their advertisement and never pay the narrator anything.
Why would they do that?
Just because they want an audio of an introduction of their book or whatever.
I didn't even think of
So you
doing
don't
that.
even
Well, you gave
know.
me an idea.
So you, hey, if you want an introduction done for your book, you just let me know. I'll do
No,
it for this book.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. To me,
No,
the
I'm
audition is to let the narrator get acquainted with the characters
yeah.
and to let me know how they want to do these characters. And to me, it works.
Yeah,
Simplicity.
because you gave a script like, okay, here's Sally, here's a few lines from her. Here's, um, the what's the child's name again?
Bobby.
Bobby. That's right. Bobby. Took me a second. You gave me a section for each one of the main characters, and and you told me what they were kind of like.
Well,
So
yes.
you
How can a
gave
narrator become them if they don't know they're an 87-year-old woman
exactly.
or a 90-year-old man?
Exactly. You would be surprised. So I really appreciate all the effort that you went into for your, book. It really needs to get out there. I was so
Good to
excited to
know.
read
Thank you.
this. You know,
That's why I consented to try to do this, because it needs to get out there. I'm a very well-kept secret still after all these books and years.
well, hopefully we can get you some publicity with the interview and all that kind of stuff. It really means a lot for me to help promote authors because I know how that is. I am an author. So I'm very empathetic.
Then throw it away. I tried. It didn't work.
Joan swept it into Sally blew hair from her cheeks. Oops. Oh my gosh. What a wrong word.
It's a leprechaun's pot of gold, Joni. Too much, too little, and unfathomable.
So, I am just so thrilled that this is done and out there because I know I gave a code away to a fellow author and my critique partner for my books. We edit each other's books and manuscripts and give feedback, that kind of stuff. And I I gave her a code and she was sick and she listened to it and she's just laying there listening to it and she said she said this is bloody brilliant.
Good.
So,
Maybe she will pass it on.
yeah, I'm hoping she will, but because it's just so cool, but she will review it. She's a reviewer. So when she's done with it, she will review it because that's just how she is. But
Very good.
that's good. So anyway, you seem to be, one thing that struck me is you said your main computer time was between 2 a.m.
Yes, from 2 to 7 a.m.
That is what time do you go to bed?
6 o'clock at night.
Well, that's okay too. If it works, it works, but it was like, holy crap, I admire this lady. Ooh,
Well,
but you go to bed at 6 a.m. I mean 6 p.m.
no,
So
6 p.m. No, I have a guy and a dog that is on this place. And so anytime from daylight, it'll be constant interruptions. And I can't write when I'm being interrupted. I mean, sometimes he'll stand at the door and say, "Who's in there? Do I dare come in?"
ah,
So I had to adjust in order to do this. And I'm a morning person. So 2 to 7, because anytime after 7, I'm going to be interrupted and I can't think once that happens. So that's what I do. And it just happened that they are gone these last few days. So I had this window of opportunity where nobody's coming and going. And that's why I said, let's do it now, because
Let's do it this weekend. Well, I'm glad we got to do this.
it's
Because
not as scary as I thought it was going to be so far.
So far, this is the worst is over.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm glad you were able to find the time, because it's just such a lovely book. It really is. I mean, all
Very good.
ages could read it, especially this day and time. I mean, 5-year-olds are watching TV that have a lot of cuss words in it that is just normal everyday stuff. They don't filter that kind of stuff.
And I hate it.
So, but yours is, even though it's very upfront and, whatever like that, but it's not
rated G. Things happen.
right. But it's
appear.
still, it's a lot milder than TV.
Oh, yes.
So, it's all ages. I mean, adults won't get bored. The humor is absolutely amazing,
Good.
and, it's just hilarious, but yet a kid could, get it.
A kid can read it. And when
Yeah.
I'm editing, one of my edits, not my first one, but one of my many edits, I do in Hemingway to be sure of my grade level and being sure of the passive and the adjective and all those things. I run it through Hemingway for the readability, for the grade level. And I don't think any of my books have been over the 5th grade, because I want people to be able to relate to it and read it, not just skim over it.
Right. Or big words that people don't understand. I mean,
yeah, and what's the point? Then if I'm not going to enjoy it, it's supposed to be for fun and for learning, not for, here, go get a lesson in vocabulary.
right. And I will have to say, if you're an adult, you won't be insulted, but your intelligence won't be insulted by reading it, because it's just everyday language. It's not
everyday
using
problems
big,
and how to get through
it's but I just all of the characters, even though I may, over time may forget their names. I don't think I could ever forget Sally's name, but
she is pretty memorable.
yeah, but the characters, I can't forget them.
I said Spuds is pretty good too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of them. I love them. I mean, you made them so rich and real.
And that's good. And that's how, if they aren't rich and real, the story cannot get written.
I will forget a plot long before I will forget the characters.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, I did several surveys over the years on this kind of thing over the last several 5 years from people. What do you remember from a book you love the most?
And of course, for me, it's Perry Mason. And it is Perry Mason and Della Street.
Well, there was, all of the ones, almost every one of them said the characters.
Yeah.
The characters is what I remember most.
Yeah.
Yeah. So out of all of their favorite books, almost every single one of them, except for one, I think, said the characters or what made it so memorable and that made it their favorite. And you have done a fantastic job with that.
That is very good to hear, because then I know I'm on the right track.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer you need to understand what you do right, because otherwise you might change it.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's so many when I first started writing, I heard so many things I was doing wrong, you know. And I will never forget it because a friend of mine was reading something and checking something for me before I went. I sent it off to an editor, and they was like, "Well, why did you change this?" And I said, "Because this wasn't right or whatever." And then they said, "No, that what you did, that was really good. Don't change that." It was like, "Oh, okay." Because they said, "Oh, well, that's what I remember."
Mm.
That was really done really well. And I had some couple of really bad editors when I first started writing. And they'd tell me to get rid of stuff that people had a fit over because that's what made it really real. So you got to be careful about your editors, but it's a long process, but that was the one thing I really grabbed over the years in writing is the characters have to be rich and
They do.
3D, or you
Yes,
will never remember it.
they have to grab their space in the process.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do. And the comments that I get, one of my readers, she just says, well, it's like you're there.
Yeah.
And so, okay, good. Thank you. I need to know that.
Yeah, it is like you're there. I
Yeah.
mean, I would so get lost in narrating this. And how many times it's like, no way. I'd have to stop and go back and re-record and take that no way out.
Oh,
Because I would react, it's like, oh, that's not in the book. Go back, punch and roll.
I'm sorry that you had to do so much cleanup.
Oh no, that's the fun kind of cleanup. I don't mind
Okay, good.
that.
Okay,
No,
good.
I laughing. Oh yeah, that's good in life.
And so where are you in the planet, on the planet?
I just in December I moved from California to Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah, so when I got your book, it was right after a huge move. So it was just like such a great.
And what made you decide Pennsylvania?
Well, I had a friend that got Alzheimer's, and I've been
Not fun.
kind of taking care of him for a long time, good amount of time. And when he had to go to his brother's, I just decided California is not really where I belong, really. And so I had some friends. I lived in Pennsylvania about 8 years. I think it was about 8 years before I moved to California over 20 years ago. So I lived here 8 years before I moved to California. So I knew some people here. So that's what I kind of, I tried also to go to North Carolina because I have family there, but with the economy and everything, it was just a better fit for right now for me to move to Pennsylvania. So I kind of live out in the country and lots of deer, and it's quiet for narrating.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it in cities, but
I'm not
I'm out in the desert. I'm the only one here for a half mile all the way around me. It works.
So are you a little bit of Sally too?
Oh yes. Those genes, they get passed down. So
That's
so
awesome.
she's a combination of the grandmas and the mama and me.
That's all the better. That's all the better. That is so cool.
Well, they say write what you know. Well, I do know living out in the middle of nowhere.
That's so awesome. That's a skill set.
Stuff. So
yeah, that's a skill set. That really is a skill set.
I fall apart if I'm in a city. I just can't handle it. Let me out.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's crazy. It's too noisy for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots of energy.
Yes, too much of it, not good.
Well, I'm glad everybody is made a little bit different, because
Absolutely.
it would mean that, just, I think, just like her niece said in the book, you want everybody to come into the desert now?
Then throw it away. I tried. It didn't work.
Joan swept it into. Shit. Sally blew hair from her cheeks. Oops. Oh my gosh. What a wrong word.
It's a leprechaun's pot of gold, Joni. Too much, too little, and unfathomable.
Snagging the clothesline rope that was waiting to get strung. I want to grow up to be like her. Oh gosh.
Then they'd investigate Naomi's so-called accident. Now you can grill me.
Joan sputtered just like me. Well, it was such a nice interview with you. I'm just so honored that I got to meet you face to face.
You did a very fine job of this interview.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And so
I'm curious about your name. Your name was given and starts with a small I.
no, actually, I came up with that name in the mid 90s when I had to start having an online presence that is made up of 7 different characteristics of the Sanskrit language.
Okay.
It's a message to myself.
Unless we go into a classroom of that particular language, that would take a very long time. So I was just curious where the given name begins with a small letter.
It's just basically a trade name, and I did that on purpose because those components that I put together for that name are a message to myself on what I want to stand for. So, and it's kind of funny because it just kind of stuck. It was like everybody started calling me that, or shortening it and say ish, or whatever. But it just stuck.
I have one of those names that I selected for myself, that if Alexi Linn didn't already have like 20 books out there, I would have used it. Right now, that name, which is Erilyn Ray, is just a Facebook name. So,
well, that's cool though.
But I really worked at that name. I really like that name. But I don't want to start over. Alexi Linn has had a big enough job getting out there.
Well, if you ever decide to do a different kind of genre, a different type of book, you can always use that pen name.
That's
for
true.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you might use it yet.
I might. As I said, it's out there on Facebook. Because my Alexi Linn account got hacked, and so it's blocked and gone. So everything Alexi Linn is now under Erilyn Ray.
Oh, okay.
On Facebook, yes.
All right. So everyone, Sally wins the lottery, but she didn't buy a ticket. And it's true. It's really true. If you want a code for it, I put the link down in the description, and you can get a code for it. And I'm sure she would totally appreciate your review, because it would really help her out a lot. Reviews are death or life to an author's book. So, yeah. So, check the book out. It's on Audible, and I'll put the link in the description. And it was great talking to you.
Okay, good talking to you too.
And I hope you create an amazing day.
We're going to do our best, aren't we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.